Yo,
Yo, yo, yo, yo.
what up?
What's up, guys? Welcome, man. Welcome. We're running a little bit late. Y'all got to forgive us. Hey, life happens. And that's why it's good to be on Google Hangout because we can start any given time we want to. So we apologize for the lateness, guys. It is 9 p.m. Eastern. And, I told Smitty and, Azure, if he comes on, maybe we'll make this a shorter show, an hour or so. There's really not a lot to talk about. But we definitely welcome you guys. Let me make sure everything is set up here on YouTube, so you guys, make sure everybody is it's showing up properly. But as I do that, man, we definitely want to welcome you guys. Um, Maybe we'll discuss it on the show. We don't know whether or not there will be a show next week, even though Christmas is not until Sunday. So we may still do the Thursday night. But we'll give you guys a heads up now. Maybe, maybe not. But like I said, maybe we'll figure that out during the show. But anyway, man, while I'm making sure everything is going, before I let you guys know what we're going to talk about, I'm going to go ahead and do what we normally do. I'll throw it to Smitty. Smitty, man, how was your week? And, anything you care to share in regards to the Detroit Lions?
No, week was pretty good. No, what I will definitely say though is that Lions is balling. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they come out last week. They beat the Saints. While basically getting the league and holding it, getting the lead, and then they go right back to losing the lead and having to come from behind and have to pull off some late game heroic to make it, to actually come away with the W. And Stafford comes in and, makes that scramble. He ran over his own guy getting into the end zone. He trucked everybody. He's like, I'm getting in that end zone. So they look, like I said before, say it again, got to give it to Cooter and Austin. Hey, them brothers putting in that work. I'm telling you, Caldwell, they making Caldwell look good.
Cooter.
Like I know. Hear people saying that basically Caldwell should be let go, but the thing is, with these, as long as these guys are here and they're doing the job they're doing with him there too, it's working. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I know he's the head coach and everything ultimately falls on him, but I mean, Bob Quinn getting the personnel they got over there, Austin doing what he doing, Cooter doing what he doing with the O line and everything. Because I mean, we don't have stellar talent on that line, but he's making them boys look good in terms of how they move those guys around. So it's they doing some work. Oh, and while I'm thinking about it, one thing I want to add some insight on is what I was reflecting on last week when I talked about, what Gedden had said or whatever about the double team pass blocking being an assignment based off of what was, what we see on NFL, the top 100 players and stuff like that. Even though, like, what I did was I wanted to get some additional insight from Clint. I wanted to make sure I had some proper clarity on it. And the thing to understand is this: when it comes to those blocking assignments, it's basically schemes. The O line, they don't have an assignment because if they rush with 6 or 7, let's say they come with a blitz, they're not going to pull away and say, oh, well, we got to, for example, if it's Khalil Mack or if it's Sue or someone like that, they're not going to just divert away from the blitz and cover him. You see what I'm saying? But when the rush situation allows it, let's say they rush 4, what they'll do is they'll, based off of their scheme and their O-line adjustment, because they're basically adjusting how they block, so they're able to double team, basically pinching and slide protecting, like how you would do in Madden, basically slide protecting your line left or right. You're going to favor that side. So that's like saying if I want to double team J.J. Watt, I want to make sure there's 2 men on him all the time, or for the most part when he's rushing. I'm going to make sure I slide protect my line to whatever side he's on. So that way I'm going to get the more favorable. He's going to have to fight harder to come through versus just having a standard base protection. So that's essentially what Clint was talking about. Like when he said that there is no assignment, it's scheme based. It's how the scheme is when it comes to the O-line play. Not, it's just that when they do those top 100 players and stuff like that, they're just giving you a general, they're generalizing it for public consumption. So that way the general public can just basically understand what's being said. So that's why I interpreted like, wait a minute, they're saying that they assign the blocks, and how come we can't have that in Madden? It's because it doesn't play out that way. So that's, some clarity to find out about that. And see, that's the other thing too. If you're gonna find out stuff, I mean, disregarding Getting, because he's out there. But what I'm saying though is for people that want feedback and understanding and want to have dialogue with, developers or what have you, asking proper questions, ask the probing questions and get more insight, get more information, so that way you can understand how come this is the way it is, how come this works the way it works or not. You know what I mean? Like that's what I did, because I had to ask probing questions. Because look, I'm not an offensive lineman. I wasn't on nobody's team. I wasn't in anyone's film room getting grilled or questioned or whatever. I wasn't on anyone's practice field like that. So I'm gonna ask the people who were in that position, and so that's how I obtained that knowledge. So I'm just saying for for the people going forward, for the community public, that you want to get in, you want to get that additional insight, and you want to be heard like that, you got to keep it on a respectful keel. Even if you don't know, come with an open mind, come to the table with a very open mind, and just speak on it and ask the questions properly. And they'll they may not get to you right then and there, but they will be a lot more receptive to that instead of the nonsense. And I mean, that's with anyone, that's with anybody out here in general, any line of customer service or anything like that. You give that respect up front, you'll get it in return. That's it. So, but all in all, that's pretty much all I got. Pistons are a little bit over 500, but they're, trying to figure things out with that team. Rumoring that, Paul George is going to get traded here and everything. They're talking about that, which I think that's pretty much a rumor. I don't think that's truly going to happen, but I think something's going to happen. I just don't know what. I really don't want the team to be broken up, because they really need to develop chemistry together, and it's going to take them time to do that and then truly become a legitimate team. So you got to give this stuff time, and that's one of the main things I say to my friends and some people I talk to on Facebook in general about it. They're so quick to say trade, and say who's worth what. But if you give these players time to really develop chemistry together, you'll truly start to see the value that they have as a unit, versus just trade all these pieces and get a star player when you're still going to be in the same spot. You're still going to be in the same spot, and you're going to need more pieces either way. So, I think that would be a dumb move to make a move to get a big name player or something like that for us. But but that's pretty much it, man. I'll throw it back to you, Sim.
Yeah, man. Definitely, I like the insight you gave in regards to the blocking. Good stuff there, guys. And like you said, I mean, we say it all the time, man. You want to be heard. You want to get your point across, or you want to influence or be a part of the solution. Speak to these guys and speak to them with respect. Utilize Twitter, because like I said, there's still numerous people who come to me or Smitty or Azure, and I'm like, you're on here, send it to them, so just make sure you're doing that. Real quick recap. Steelers, man, like I said, I'm a realist. I'm one of the realest fans that you'll find, because I don't overhype my team. I don't undersell the team. I tell it like I see it. Defensive effort that they put forth against the Bills, I know it was snowing. People will say that, but okay, it was snowing for us too. defensive effort that they put up in that game and the Giants game, if they can put forth that kind of defense, just enough, they could be dangerous. Are they a great team? I don't think so. I think right now I would give them above average the way they're playing the last couple of weeks. I didn't count the Cleveland game. I didn't count the Colts game without an Andrew Luck. But I had to count it a little bit because those are normally the games the Steelers lose. You know, you Steelers fans out there know the last 3 to 4 years, we always losing the teams we ain't got no business losing. So that Colts game was definitely a game that they would have lost probably last year or the year before that. So then you face the Giants, hot team. They come in, we take care of them. What do we do in Buffalo? We stop the run game, which has been a pain point for the Steelers. Both the run and the pass has been a pain point. But if they play like that, it's very possible. It's very possible that they can get into the playoffs. Denver doesn't scare me because of their offense. The defense doesn't scare me because we played that defense last year with more pieces, and we were able to do things against them in both games. New England, man. Let's just face it. New England is probably it. I'm not sold on the Raiders, Smitty. I'm not sold on Kansas City as far as being a Super Bowl contender. Let's not forget. I know it was early in the season, but this is the thing that baffles me. They came to Pittsburgh and we smashed them. I mean, we beat Kansas City like 45-13, something crazy like that. How did that happen? Football is so week to week. A Raiders team to me is a team that could get hot because they remind me of the Steelers in this regard. Powerful offense, subpar defense. Takes is a few stops. So the Raiders might have a chance to compete. I just don't know who's beating New England. I don't know. A healthy Pittsburgh team, maybe, just because of the matchups without Gronk. You know, you look at, again, it's week to week. You look at what Landry Jones did against them. Fairly close game, but I don't know. I don't think the Steelers are a Super Bowl team. I'm not on that hype train right now. I know Dez is watching. We both feel like it's going to come down to that Christmas Day game. Whoever wins that possibly wins the division. I say possibly because Dez will probably agree with me here. You know, him being a Ravens fan, me being a Steelers fan, we're the type of fans that really look at the teams and call. Dez, you probably know just like I do. The Ravens could mess around and lose to Philly this week. Very possible, right? Now, if they lose that game, there could be trouble. Because if they lose that game, and let's say Pittsburgh gets past Cincinnati, then really all you're looking at is Pittsburgh having to go 1 out of 2 the last 2 games, and they would probably still win the division. If the Ravens mess around and drop the game this week, mathematically, all the Pittsburgh Steelers would have to do is go 2 out of 3, like Cincinnati, the Ravens, and Cleveland, and they would win the division. Even if the Ravens were to beat them on Christmas Day. So it's going to be interesting. But outside of that, man, it's funny I bring up the Steelers game, Smitty, because that's definitely kind of what I want to lead into in regards to the night's topic. Again, guys, we got a late start tonight. We'll probably just do about an hour. And, you know, because we have control over this, guys, maybe this is something that we'll continue to do. You know, maybe it doesn't always require a 2-hour show. You know, maybe sometimes we'll just do a quick hour in and out, things like that. It's really in you guys' control and in our control, et cetera, et cetera. But the main topic I wanted to discuss, and shout outs to Millennium OS. You know, if he sees this, Charter 04 is another guy that I kind of had this conversation with earlier in the week. In regards to Madden, because, you know, let's face it, this is the game we talk about the most. The question is, can sim gamers, can they and will they accept a sim football game? Let me explain what I'm saying. I know we've tackled this subject before, but let me explain the angle I'm coming at. Game against the Buffalo Bills, right, with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I've been saying this all along, and, you know, Azure, if he comes on tonight or if he hears this later, he remembers a couple years ago in Tennessee. The Steelers was running the same play over and over. That counter. Sometimes they give it to you in a different look, but the majority of the time when it works, the Pittsburgh Steelers are notorious for running the same play that you can't stop. Now, here's the simulation side of it. Bills couldn't stop it. The Tennessee Titans 2 years ago, when Le'Veon Bell rushed for 206, they couldn't stop it. I remember in that game, because me and Azul was both cracking up, one of the linebackers had audio of him saying, it's the same play. They are running the same play. And they couldn't stop it. We closed the game out with that play. Steelers are doing a lot of it this year. That counter, when it's working, they continue to run it over and over and over. So it brings me to Madden. That's simulation, right? Here's the balance, though. In Madden, we all can agree there's not always the necessary tools, or I won't even say tools. The tools are kind of there. The game doesn't replicate what we always say. Fully representing weight, fully respecting physics, physical mass, physical stature, leverage, et cetera, et cetera. Because of that, it's hard to accept the same play working over and over in Madden. Secondly, the AI is not there to recognize the same play over and over and over. I think you guys know this by now. The way that Madden kind of does that now is the game kind of knows if you're running the same thing way too many times, you might not be as successful running it later on, which is a video band-aid. It's a video game way of saying, okay, this is how we're going to kind of, replicate AI or adaptive AI. Actual adaptive AI is really not in the game, excuse me, to the degree where it needs to be, where the players would say, no, they're not running that counter no more. A Ryan Shazier type linebacker, or not even going to be biased there. A Luke Kuechly will see that and be like, no, I'm shooting the gap next time. When I see this dude pull, I'm in there. I'm busting that up. That don't happen in the game. So my point is, Smitty, as I throw it to you, another thing that me and Charter 04 was speaking on is the fun factor. He said that, and I agree with him. I'll be the first one to say I agree fully with this statement. I don't like sim Nazis. I don't like sim extremists, because let's be honest, guys. Some of us, and I'm going to always include myself, some of us in this sim movement are a little too extreme. We expect a little too much. And sometimes you have to understand that it's still a video game. And the things that we think are fun may not be fun to everyone else. So it's kind of like, is the fun factor put at risk when a simulation aspect happens? Now, we would love it. Y'all know that. But it's twofold, Smitty. Is that a kind of a crippling factor when we try to push for sim? Because we both know the more we get to it, it's going to be things that people ain't going to like. We already seen it in the last 2 years. As well as, are people going to be willing to deal with the fact that they have, let's say, I hate to pick on them, but they owe in 14, 13. Let's say you have a Cleveland Browns team, and y'all just can't stop. You can't stop nobody because of your personnel. Are you sim gamers going to be able to accept that? Me with Le'Veon Bell running this counter play down your throat because you can't stop it, and I rush for 222 yards. My fear is that sim gamers, a lot of times, I got to talk about us, guys. I got to be fair. A lot of times I notice in the sim gaming community that when things don't work their way, Smitty, oh, it's broken. Oh, that should never happen. Oh, there's no way AJ Green can catch that many catches over top of this guy. Oh, why not? Smitty says it all the time. It's a chaotic sport that's unpredictable. So that's the question, man. I wonder, will we really be able to accept that? I would, because just like now in CFM, we try to fix things that are wrong, even though we know the game. Hold on. Even though we know the game doesn't represent things quite the right way, I would love it. But how do you think that would go over in the community, Smitty?
Well, this is why, and this is why I've been saying for the longest time we need to have separation with having a simulation mode difficulty, like what was done in Tiger Woods.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's why, like, because I mean, and I know, and just from looking online, people already, I mean, without there even actually being a mode made yet, dudes are already saying, "Oh no, it'll be taking away." Like, basically, if you read in between the lines of what's being said, it's like you're taking something away. Look what happened with Madden 7. I mean, these past 3 Madden titles have all been nerfed. Okay, we've had that discussion already. That these are sim elements, sim things. Dudes fumbling and losing the ball and left and right and all that stuff. And Twitter posts, like I said back then, there were only like 2, 3 people, 3, maybe 4 people. You had 20, 30 people posting tweets and retweeting and liking everything Rex had to say. But then when I said, well, what about the rate? What about how many people are using all these mechanics to prevent from having all these fumbles? How come I was only able to get like maybe 2 or 3 responses out of all those people? That tells you right there. Now, mind you, it's an extreme small sample size, but the point of the matter is that it's, like, people are playing the game, having these things happen, and then they're running off to Rex and them saying, turn it down. It's too much. I can't take it. That's why we need that separation in there. That's why I feel that the community, you'll have some people that can handle it, and you'll have a good number of people that'll get exposed. And what I mean by exposed is not necessarily taking L's and stuff like that, but they'll get exposed because they'll be complaining about football. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to be legit. They're going to be making legitimate complaints about legitimate football that happens, and scream out and say, "Oh, I can't believe that happened to me!" And like, no, it's part of the sport. It happens. So what are you going to do about it? You're going to step up your game. You're going to spend more time in the practice field instead of, like what a lot of people do, they bust the game out the package, or as soon as that download queues up, or finishes, I should say, and they're able to play the game, they automatically scraping paint off the walls. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened to me. Rex, you got to do something about this. Clint, you got to do something. Like, no, you need to do something about yourself. This is why, let me go back to it here and shout out. I know my man DJ is in here, is in the chat and everything. I got to pull up the tweet my man said again. People want adaptive AI but don't have adaptive critical thinking, then they complain the game is too hard. That directly echoes what Sim just said. People come out and they say they want Sim. They say they want all these things to happen in the game. But then as soon as they get smacked in the face with it, oh, no, that's garbage. This shouldn't happen to me. That shouldn't happen. But yet they'll watch football on Sundays and see it happen to their team. But then when they jump on the sticks, all of a sudden that should be a figment of your imagination. You shouldn't have those issues. No, that's not how it works. So if you have a problem with that, then you need to either refine your game, or you're going to have to actually not play on that high of a difficulty. You may have to play on pro or rookie. There ain't no shame in that. Play on that level. But there needs to be that separation with the tuners, like in NHL, and even with the sliders too, having more robust set of sliders, and have a default setting that would account for your simulation mode. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't have to be tied just to CFM. It could be tied to any of the difficulties. And it's something you turn on. You put it on Madden, but then the play style. You got your tournament play style, you got your arcade play style, you have your casual play style, and you have your simulation play style. Boom. And you got default settings to go along with it. Now, you can always go in and change the settings the way you want, but it'll be a preset that's already set. This is arcade. You're going to have a lot of stuff turned down real low. Passing, catching, all that will be real high. Like, you'll have some stuff, it'll just look real crazy. Casual will basically be your default down the line, tournament, there'll be certain sliders adjusted accordingly, and then sim, that's going to be the most authentic setting up front, at least from what the devs think out the box. But then we can go in behind and customize it if we feel. It's the same thing with Tiger. You put on simulation difficulty, you can play on that difficulty. If you want to customize it, go ahead and customize it. Do what you want to do. But we need the option. That's it. Because I can tell you right now, what would basically happen is if a simulation difficulty mode was to honestly be done in the game or what have you, it would be nerfed by September. If with the way things go right now, it would be nerfed by September. Dudes will be posting so many videos because you know what they're gonna do, especially people that don't have the game yet and they get it through the EA access. I'm telling you, they're gonna play that game. They're not gonna go into practice mode and go through all the drills that I already know. Rex and Clint and all them dudes doing the live streams will tell you, man, you guys better do this. Y'all better do that. Y'all better do all these things and tighten up. They ain't gonna do all that. They're gonna fire that game up, jump online, and get waxed, and then turn around and say, Rex, you gotta fix this. No. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's the part that just makes it, that's the part that has me upset in that regard. But yeah, I mean, I'm with that happening. I'm with it. I'm with having the learning curve, and like you said, the last thing I'll throw it back to you is the whole extremist factor of things. I know that people do get extreme, they get wild when it comes to some of the football jargon and stuff like that. And if you're not saying exactly what they want to say, they just basically say F you. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, nah, you got to tone it down a notch and relax. Some people won't like the strategy of it, others will. Some people want to play checkers on the chessboard. You know what I'm saying? They want to play chess with checker rules. You know what I mean? So like they want the strategy without the strategy. And I'm like, no, that's not how it's gonna go. Don't come up saying we're about sim, and then folk gonna turn around and double back and complain in a few weeks' time. And even now still complain about it. You know what I mean? And I mean, look, there's justifiable, there's gameplay issues and stuff like that to deal with. I get that, but still, it just doesn't make it just doesn't make sense at times in terms of how some people are acting out here. That's all. But I'll throw it back to you, Sim.
Yeah, man. And then, we have Zulu on, and just before I throw it to him, I will give you my 2 cents. I really believe that no people wouldn't want it. I'm gonna tell you right now, because people don't like to lose. So when they're getting punished because they don't have the capable team, they ain't gonna want that. I'm gonna tell you right now. As much as people say they're sim, they are not gonna want that. But go ahead, Zulu, man. Since my son keep calling me, let me take care of him. We appreciate having you on, man. What's going on?
Hey, how y'all doing tonight?
Good, man.
All right, so before I do my thing, I just want to piggyback on what y'all been talking about. Maybe I can work it back in, but essentially, when you talk about, to what extent do we want sim, and are we willing to take a whooping if we have, my Raiders, I run 2 leagues in my community. My Raiders have not been good since we first went online with Madden 2004. That means every year I took my Raiders, man, I had to pull out my entire play call sheet to beat people, okay? So when we're talking about, what kind of learning curve do we want, or what kind of game do we want, there has to be a balance between rewarding the player talent, meaning the players in the game and their attributes, which is most important, versus the user's ability to manipulate the talent that is on their team. Now, when all things are even, well, then the user who has the better talent, they're going to win 9 out of 10. That's just mathematics. But if you're a fool and don't know what you're doing, your favorite play is an aggressive catch down the field. You call 5 wide and think that you ought to be able to throw the ball 40 yards down the field. man, you ought to take a whooping to the Cleveland Browns. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm going to weave back into that, but let me just say my part, because I was so mad I missed y'all last week, and then I had to watch my Raiders play KC, and then I got mad at the end of the night. So you know, I got a little bit of frustration I got to share with y'all. But there's an old school movie that new heads need to see. It's got Paul Newman in it, and it's called The Hustler, 1961. The character's name is Fast Eddie. Fast Eddie would go to the public rooms, and he used to beat up all the guys, all the players who thought they had mad skills. And he used to whoop up on people who thought they could cheat. This ain't even a plot of the movie. This is just what happens in the movie. Fast Eddie gets his fingers smashed. Now, why did Fast Eddie get his fingers smashed? Fast Eddie got his fingers smashed not because he cheesed, not because he swerved. He got his fingers smashed because he understood the game. People felt like it was a unrealistic disadvantage for them to play someone who could play pool that well. It wasn't right. They got upset and they ganged up on him. That's what's happening right now in the so-called sim community. A lot of folks loud talking, but they can't take a whooping. They're afraid of simulation style because they realize we be able to measure their ability to play. Now, with all that said, we got people who want to win and we got people who want to compete. So I'm not trying to say like everybody just wants to win. But there's too much ego in the room, and the problem that Rex has right now is that he needs to be able to show us how to compete. One of the best things to happen to Madden 17 for about 5 minutes before a patch and a tuner, in a tuner. One of the best things that happened to Madden 17 was that everybody had to run to the lab to figure out what a run fit was. Rex made us learn how to play the doggone game. He needs to do that again.
Right.
Another thing is
Absolutely.
that practice mode is so busted that it's kind of an embarrassment to make us go to practice mode to learn how to learn things like run fits, or I'm hoping in the future, near future, we have things like stunts for pass rushing. But, you got to if the two go hand in hand, you kind of need to fix practice mode in order to humble us enough to go there to use it. But if it's busted up, it doesn't look good for your product. With that said, and just going back to Rex, I love Rex. I think a lot of dudes are pulling for Rex. I think a lot of people believed in Rex before we got that first patch. The problem is this nasty little thing called consumer confidence. Consumer confidence is not about Rex, and it's never about the individual. It's about the company. And what's happened is, even I, Mr. Optimistic, even I, right now, I'm like, yo, Rex is that dude. I believe in him. How much do I believe in EA? I don't believe in EA. I've been playing Madden too long for me to trust EA. That's a consumer confidence issue. Rex's number one challenge is to gain that trust back. But in order, and I'm talking about back from several Madden generations ago, I haven't felt good about Madden since Madden 05. You know what I mean? So that's going to be hard work, but he can do that. If you have a game that's based on traits and attributes and strategy, then everyone can at least say we understand how you want us to play the game. So we got a lot of dudes running around who want to win. What Rex needs to do is show us how to compete. See, then we don't have to have silly conversations about, well, what's Sim? Well, Sim is for cowards. Well, Sim is what you see. No, forget all that. Rex has to show us how to play the game. The best thing that happened to Madden 17 was the run fits. Because if you give up 200 yards rushing, I guarantee you sat down and said, hey, man, I need to I need to press a button. I need to learn how these plays work. That's the beginning of generating goodwill if you can stick it out for the entire Madden year. If you can't do it for the whole cycle, not only do you get resentment from people who want a more quote-unquote sim-style game, you get people who resent you because they're like, hey, my little 3 gimmicks ought to work. Why does someone else's gimmicks work? We shouldn't be talking about gimmicks and sim. The issue is not about any of that stuff. The issue that we have in front of us is we need to learn how to play the game based on his vision. If he compromises on that, we're going to be talking about this next 5 years. We're going to have silly discussions about well, I don't know if this is a real pocket, or I don't know if we have the actual realistic safety play. None of that matters. We need to talk about what's Rex's vision. How do we get there? And to what extent can he show us how to compete in the game based on his vision? That's my 5 cents.
Man, we definitely appreciate the call, like always, man. Always an open invitation. Nice, nice thought-provoking comments there, man. And I guess me and Smitty can kind of speak on it in a general sense. We've heard conversation before. They definitely want us. Rex is all about simulation. He keeps saying it, and I will say this to those who don't believe it. Why does he keep saying it? Like, think about that. Why keep saying that if that's not really what you want and that's not really what you want to do? It don't make no sense. They're in a position where he doesn't have to say anything. Why would you just continue to say this? Because it's not like you're making anybody happy by saying that, so there's no advantage. So in my opinion, even if I didn't know him, I would say, well, they must be trying. All I could do is do it, because why would they keep promoting that? That's really not what's selling the game, him promoting that. We all know that. That's not the reason why Madden sells the units that they sell. But really, honestly and truly, man, it's what he said before. Got to take out a lot of the old stuff that wasn't right, redo a lot of things that need to be redone, and add new things that would take the game to the next level. What they have discussed, got to find a nice way to say this, because I don't know if it's stuff that can't be shared. Let's just say this. They acknowledge the fact that there's a tourney gamer, a casual gamer, and a sim gamer. They acknowledge the fact that something may need to be done where people can, feel comfortable playing the way they want to play. What does that mean? I can't really say. No, I'm not hinting. I'm not saying, oh, yeah, I'm not giving you guys one of the bones and you kind of figure it out. I just know that they know it's an issue, and they have talked about maybe possibly trying to address that at some point. I think the NHL thing is a perfect starting point. I mean, and I'm not going to say it's easy to do that. I don't know where the game is from a mechanical and engineering standpoint. I don't know how long that takes, but I think that's the blueprint. I think it's obviously that is the blueprint. NHL, to have all of those different layers of not only, to me, that's far beyond slider. You're actually adjusting actual effectiveness, and how this, if the puck hits this, how much effect is that? That's way beyond slider set. Yeah. That's what I think Madden would need. But again, how is the game constructed under the hood? I don't think that's something that's going to happen overnight. But Rex and them know all of that. That's why they ask so many questions. That's why, to be honest with y'all, the reason why Rex is so big on the Madden challenge and stuff, same way I am. That's when we really find out what's wrong with the game. If you really think about it, us guys, the sim guys, ain't necessarily going to know all of the problems because we don't run the same plays all the time or use a money play that we know that's always going to work. Some people probably do, but y'all know what I'm saying. In your leagues, we have the little rules where you got to mix up your play calling, et cetera, et cetera. Not like you can't go back to the same play, but we're not going to let you run the same play first, second, third, fourth, first, second, third, fourth, the next series. Then no, you ain't doing that. But, excuse me, there's nothing wrong with having a game plan or having a set amount of plays that you're going to bring into the game. The real NFL coaches do that. So because we play like that and we play on a fair scale and we punt and stuff like that, we're not going to always see the problems. But when you watch these guys play in the Madden Classic, we can see oh, no, that's not right. That's cheesy. So that's why you have to be a part of that, from a developer standpoint, as well as from us being the sim representatives. And, we have to acknowledge that crowd because, like I said, you're gonna see the problems in the game. But yeah, the last point you said, man, before. Well, I know Smitty is handling some business right now, so I'll keep going. Speaking on the other thing that you spoke on, man, as far as Rex and them having to show us how to play the game and not be afraid, absolutely. I mean, to me, I wish they would go back to those playbooks that they used to have. Remember a few years ago, they would have the playbooks, and we knew when they came out, and they'd have a gameplay one, and then they'd have another one for this, another one for that. I think they need to do that. And maybe like the Muttcast, how they have the Muttcast every week. When a game comes out, they need to start doing that for gameplay. Even if it's not them, maybe you have somebody who knows all the tools. Maybe it could be a Farles or Gibbs or somebody like that that can sit there and show you all of these different things. Because some people, you know, just don't know. Another thing I think we need to do, and I say we because this is the stuff that we push, however the game is constructed, right? However it's built, from ratings to all of this other stuff, we need to know exactly how that stuff applies to the game. I want to know what all of the ratings do. I want to know what this slider does. And if I move this slider, how does it affect this? I want to know what is the combination to create this effect. You know, if I'm trying to draft a player, again, going back to the ratings, what does it mean for me to have a guy with, you know, high play rec or zone coverage, man coverage, strength, weight? We need to know all of these things because even if the game is not built where we want it to be built just yet, we need to at least know, based off of how it is built, how to play it. And that's something that Nef1 has done a good job with kind of figuring out, you know, him being a roster guy. He takes the time to go through a lot of these things and figure out what does what. You know, a lot of these slider gurus do that as well, but I think it needs to come from EA. They have to start telling us how this game works, because I'll tell you, there is, hey, hold on, guys. No, if I can, there is a ratings like matrix, I guess you would call it, that basically tells you everything. And I've been told that it's not something that they like to share publicly, only because it changes. You know, with each game, things change. So that's not something they just want to have floating out there. Like, for example, a lot of different things changed this year when they brought in the zone play stuff. So a lot of different ratings start meaning different things. So however they do it, man, I just think it's something that we desperately to know from the consumer standpoint. As game changes, we need to have more access to this stuff. Maybe we can relay it. But, man, that and guys, and you know, Smitty, when you're ready, you can come back in. I'm not sure if you're back yet, but I feel like, guys, it's so much still, you know, in the balance. I really don't feel like, I'm telling you, from looking at a lot of people in this community, not a lot. Y'all know who they are because y'all see them too. I'm not gonna be satisfied with that stuff. And it's funny to me because always pro sim. For example, let's talk about Smitty's example from, you know, those who have given their feedback on their double team pass blocking. All right. So what's going to happen when I have a Seattle-like defense? Got two edge rushers that you just can't stop. Imagine if I had like a Averill and a what's my man name, Von Miller on the same team. Now what? You know, so are you still going to be mad if you doubling Von Miller? But then let's say if Averill is on my team, now he's getting you, or Michael Bennett. Or let's say J.J. Watt is on the same team as Von Miller, or even because he's starting to show up now, Jadeveon Clowney. Clowney and Watt. At some point, that combination is going to be a problem. So now, are you willing to accept, man, my line just can't block these guys? I got to commit one, a double team to this dude on every play, depending on where he's at. Because, a guy like Watt, and again, if we're talking about a sim game, now we're going to have the tools on defense. Now I might switch up the formation. Now I might have him in this playing this technique, or he might be playing the 5 technique. Then what? Now it's up to you. Are you going to be cool with me forcing you to do a double team if I put Watt on this side to make you double team him to send somebody else on the other side, and your O-line is not equipped to block him? Nope. A lot of these people ain't going to be happy with that. Or when legitimate pressure, right, is causing your passes to go all over the place. Y'all ready for that? Or a rookie being a rookie, and every now and then you might get a Dak Prescott. But speaking of Dak, it's not because and I'm not saying this about him, I'm just saying, looking at the way we've seen the Cowboys play, it might not be so much that he's Dak. It might be because you have to allow him to just manage the game and not do too much, because you got this massive offensive line and your run game is on 1,000. You see what I'm saying? But then you have those games like the game against the Giants, when the Giants seem to know what to do with him. People, I'm telling you guys, people are not going to like that. And that further lets us know why we need to have the setting. If the game ever gets to that point, we're going to have to separate it, because even right here on this show, you've heard some people say they're all for it, and other people like, no, I don't think that. We got to have some type of setting or a mode. Again, like I said, maybe CFM is the mode. I don't know. But we got to be able to separate it, because if not, man, I'm telling you, people are going to kill it. And it's going to be the sim guys. It ain't going to be the tourney guys. It's going to be sim heads that ain't going to want to do it. And yeah, I see my man says, don't forget about Whitney Merciless. That's what I'm saying, yo. The Texans defense has the potential to be a problem. And that's what I'm saying. People, y'all know how the Madden rhetoric goes. There's too much offense. Oh, there's not enough defense. Oh, there's not enough this. There's not enough. People, I'm telling you, are not going to accept a New England Patriots in Madden. Imagine when the game gets to a point where the system is just perfect. You got the right guys. Or you got Gronkowski that nobody can guard. See what I'm saying? Because we always run to that, man, this is broken. There's no way this guy can do this. I'll be the first one to say it. Against my Steelers secondary, I wouldn't mind it just being what it is. It is what it is. They ain't that great yet. They're coming along. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would not mind that if I'm playing one of you guys and y'all are lighting me up, because secondary is not equipped to handle the attack, and I ain't getting no pass rush. Like I said, I'm not a biased person. I look at everything from reality, and I can talk about the Steelers because that's my team. Look at how they played early this year. Forgive me, guys. I'm still getting over this cold. But look at how they played earlier this year. Passing all on them, running all on them. Games like the Miami game. I would have to accept that if I'm a sim gamer, right? I'm just saying, man, I just think it's a tricky slope to go down. And even though we're still pushing it, I just think it's tricky. It's tricky, man, because it's going to be a lot of people, I think, within our own community that's not going to be feeling it. But Smitty, man, what else you got on that? If you're back. If not, I'll keep rambling on. So we'll wait a few minutes, man. While we wait for Smitty, guys, if any of you guys, man, if you have anything you want to add to it, or if you would like to get my opinion on something, just write it here in the message. Let me know. I'll definitely reflect on that. And I'm still waiting on Smitty. I want to go back to something we talked about last week. Again, let's talk about the passing mechanics and things of that nature, right? Are people going to be willing to deal with subpar quarterbacks? Like, for real? I don't think so. And I really think, guys, this is just my opinion. I could be wrong, but just reading some of the comments on videos and just watching Twitter, I really feel like people and we all could be guilty of it, but we have a video game mentality that overrides everything else, overrides realism, overrides possibilities of things that can happen. Because think about it. When what you're inputting doesn't work, or if this play doesn't work, you ain't trying to hear that the defense just stopped you or your opponent called a better play. People ain't trying to hear that. They not. People want things to work. Think about some of the critique videos y'all have seen. I'm not going to call any names because I don't have to. But think of some of the videos y'all have seen in the past from other people. Most of the time, they're critiquing something that didn't work in their favor, right? Versus myself, and I'm not saying I'm doing better than anybody else. We're probably all guilty of this in any given time. But remember when the recent video I broke down and I was playing against the Raiders in the Sim Standard Radio League. And I was like, I don't know if this is a touchdown or if I should have been able to throw it here, but I know the ball shouldn't have went right to Khalil Mack. Those things, stuff like that is a problem. That the passing is no way I should throw it right there. You know what I'm saying? To Khalil Mack, and he's sitting in the middle of the field, and my guy streaking the sideline. Those are issues that everybody should be free and clear for us all to acknowledge that. But I'm telling you, most of the time, people are complaining about things that didn't go their way when they wanted it to go their way. So let me see what some of you guys are saying here in the comments. And we're probably going to wrap up soon, guys. I told you this was a late starting show. We didn't have really much to talk about now. And, you know, we'll probably wrap this up here in a moment. I'll wait a few more minutes for Smitty. London Baker says, what do the Madden devs work on every year? I mean, they already have all the uniforms, stadiums, player assets built for previous years. Well, London Baker, I don't really know how to answer that question. How about this? Ever since Madden 12, what has changed in the game? Ask yourself that question. What things have you seen added or improved on or et cetera since Madden 12? That might give you your answer. I mean, the short answer to me is they work on a lot of stuff every single year. But, you know, it's always a matter of opinion. Okay, go ahead. No, it's always a matter of opinion of what guys are doing and what they're not doing. I mean, one could say they've done a whole lot each year. I mean, you know, just one thing in particular. I mean, the zone play. That's something that was just done. That kind of zone, the way they read their receivers and all that, that wasn't in Madden before. But not to pick on you, I'm just saying the problem is this. Some people feel like the game is good where it's at. There are many people that challenge me, just as many people that agree with me. There's as many people that challenge me and feel like, man, the game is perfect. That's how they see it. Again, another reason why we need options. Everybody doesn't view it the same. Let me see what else y'all got here. Erlocker51 says, people who play Madden don't like to keep a running back and or a tight end in to block, even if their O-line is getting beat by four. Exactly, by a four-man rush. That's, again, man, most people have a video game mentality. They don't realize, like, okay, there's some things that I need to do on my end as well that can control or make my experience a little better. You know what I'm saying? And that's why the question still remains, man, can sim gamers handle it? Because when the game gets to that point where you have to keep another guy in, or look at how many teams, and I know the Steelers do it as well. New England, I've seen do it. Look at how many teams bring in an extra lineman as a tight end when they're running the ball, particularly against teams like the Ravens, because the Ravens like to pack that box on you and say, yeah, beat us. Beat us. That's why you got to respect them. But that's an interesting one, man. Let me see what else you guys are saying. Let's see. That's a good one. What would I like to see improved in CFM? I'll be right back with that, man. Give me 2 seconds, guys. Y'all know I'm daddy daycare right now. Give me 2 seconds. I'll be right back, and I'll give you some of my quick thoughts on that. 2 seconds, guys. All right, guys, I'm back. And I guess we can probably wrap up with this, man. Like I said, short show tonight, a little understaffed, so to speak. Wow, where should I begin? With me and CFM, man, is you've heard us say this before, or maybe you haven't, but for those who have heard it, it'll sound very familiar. CFM and gameplay to me is like this. Hand to hand. They're one. They're like a married couple. Why do I say that? It's because in order for the CFM things to work, the things that we want, and for it to really matter, you gotta have gameplay to accommodate. Prime example. Here's a couple things that I want to see improved or added, and there's so many, man. It's hard for me to come up with them off the fly, but I want to see progressive fatigue, like NBA 2K is my league, like NFL head coach 09 had this. And it's twofold. Not only did they have the progressive fatigue, but they also had the wear and tear on each body part. Like if you go play my league right now, you hit the little R1 or whatever system that you're on, and you scroll over when you're looking at the player, it shows the injury factor. Then it actually says wear and tear. Gotta have that. This is football, man. We all got favorite teams, and think about at least 3 players. I'll go that far on your team right now that's injured. You know what I'm saying? Here we got the Bengals coming up Sunday, and AJ Green probably ain't playing. That's huge. Or Giovanni Bernard out for the season. That's huge. Cam Hayward out for the season. Huge. You know what I'm saying? Not only that, since we want to talk about my riddled Steelers at times, Martavis Bryant. What about some ongoing storylines, things that just pop up? Imagine it being an RPG type of setting where if you play as a coach, right? You still can play the games, but if you're the coach, now it's more responsibility. Now you're responsible for assigning meetings and things like that during the week to keep guys, together. But every now and then, maybe you're not paying enough attention to a guy. Again, NBA 2K does a good job with this as far as, I don't know how much it really affects the game, but they have the morale effects and all of that. That kind of stuff. Imagine your guy's morale ain't up. I mean, it's not up, and now he's doing knucklehead stuff. Gets himself in trouble. He might have to face a suspension. Now, of course, the NFL might not want that in the game. I'm just saying. More stuff for the coaches to do. I want to see real scouting. Where I'm talking about, I got to hire a staff. I have scouts or assistant coaches that do these things, et cetera, et cetera. I can send these guys to pro days. I can send them to combine, all of that stuff to collect more data, right? And the more that we do, the more we gain on a player, and it will give us an advantage if this guy happens to land in our team. A lot of teams do this, but again, I'm always going to speak in regards to Pittsburgh, not just because I'm a fan, but I know that team the most. So obviously it's easy for me to speak on their processes. They always have pre-draft visits. If you're a Steelers fan, you would know most of the time, a good amount of time, if the person is there, they draft a lot of guys off of that visits list. That's why a lot of times I have an idea of who we like, right? You know, or Shazier was a guy like that, or Artie Burns, all of these kind of guys like that, pre-draft visits. So my point is, imagine if you spend time and scouting and things on certain players. So if he's there when you draft him, bam, you know, you got more of an advantage because now you know this guy. All kinds of stuff like that. Like how NCAA did it, man. Like having to actually a real scouting system to make it more competitive there as well as in the free agency space. Being able to entice guys based on team, locale, et cetera, et cetera. And I see Smitty was back here for a moment. So once Smitty gets back in, you know, we'll let Smitty wrap it up. I guess that's probably all we got tonight. But continuing on the CFM stuff, let me see what else. I want a little more game planning. I want to expand on that game planning stuff to where you can actually practice against schemes that you're expecting to face. All right? Think about how, and the way I try to look at it, guys, just to give you all a heads up. And yeah, there's Smitty. We'll bring him back in a minute. Smitty, what I'm talking about now is just answering a question. I had some guys send questions in chat, and you know, just giving a few things that I wanted CFM. And I told them we probably don't have much more to talk about tonight, so you know, we could probably get ready to wrap things up. But I always speak from a development standpoint. I believe Smitty does the same thing because now we kind of train on how they work. So I always look at things from this perspective, like, okay, if I want X feature, then what's going to be the Y factor or the how factor that it can work in Madden? Yeah. So speaking on the scouting stuff, use what we already have. So now they show us the data, the tendencies, et cetera, of your opponent. Now expand on that and allow us to practice against those actual formations or things that we think we might see from that team because of their roster. They got a mobile quarterback, you know, more tailored game planning and being able to implement the stuff that was in NCAA, like whether it's in-game or out-game, telling your guys to play aggressive, go for the strip, play the ball, you know, these type of things, protect the ball, you know, all of this type of stuff. Need all of that, man, and just, you know, just more emerging off field that affects the infield stuff. You know, being able to build your players, like I really think there needs to be a better system with that. The XP stuff is cool, but it's kind of like, I don't know, that's a gray area because again, guys, we're talking about a video game. But here's the last thing I'll say, then I'll throw it to Smitty, you know, whatever Smitty has for the remainder of the show. Practice, I want practice to be more reflective on performance. Let me explain what I'm saying. How many times when you watch football and you hear that your team has signed somebody off the practice squad, they move them to the active roster. He's showing some things in practice. You might give him a go this week. Can't really do that in Madden. Also with that, I want to be forced to use an active roster, right? You can only take 46 players into the game. You can only dress 46. I want that additional strategy aspect where now I got to decide, So, excuse me, I keep coughing, y'all. Forgive me. We going into Green Bay this weekend. It's cold out there. We might need an extra running back. May not pass the ball as much, so we don't really need to take 6 receivers, stuff like that. Can't do that in Madden. And last but not least, the preseason stuff, man, I just wish it would mimic the NFL as far as the 90-man roster, the exact cuts and all of that stuff, because, you know, when you play preseason now, there's no option for you to, you know, your starters come back. Like I see Lawrence Timmons come in at tight end, and it's because it's based on overalls and stuff. And it's like, All that stuff has to be updated and fixed, man. But those are just my few, even though I said a lot. Those are my few things that I would love to see, improved and enhanced, particularly in CFM. It just needs to be immersive, man. Like, as much as I get on 2K with their frustrating moments, I still like playing my league because it's just so much going on, from the live scrimmages to, it's just, we need that stuff in Madden as well. But yeah, Smitty, man, whatever it is you want to speak on, I know you had to step away for a moment, but whatever it is you want to speak on, man, as we come down to the waning moments of the show.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You can hear me? Okay. All right. I wasn't sure because I'm on the phone. So I'm in the car right now. Had to go get some gas for my wife's car, and she's still inside the store at the moment. So,
oh man,
mobile right now. But now, as far as, I agree with what you said. The thing is, those aspects of NCAA when it comes to coverage, going for the strip and stuff like that, it is in Madden, but it's not something you can choose. It's more of a trait. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's attached to the player trait in terms of how they play the ball. Do they play it conservative? Do they play it aggressive? Stuff like that. I want to have, but when I pop in NCAA and I can actually control it, like I want to be able to control it, because that's coaching right there. You know what I'm saying? Like that would be a coaching feature type of deal. Like if you have let's say because to be brutally honest, at some point Madden's going to have to bring in the coordinators, because that's what 2K does. They basically, you have grades for your staff, so it's like you got to be mindful of who you bring in across the board when it comes to your staff. You don't have to worry about that in Madden. Pretty much your head coach is basically a placeholder, because you can change their coaching style on the fly. Like there's no ratings impact. There's no morale, no nothing that's really impacted. Like if you recall, games like NFL Head Coach, your coaches had ratings like that were in-depth, tangible to that coach. You see what I'm saying? Like, but here it doesn't matter. Like it truly doesn't. There's no real variable to it. And now when we're talking about like in NCAA, I would, like I've said before, like done on PS2 days, where you player composure. You have the composure ratings. You got the matchup stick, but it needs to go beyond just where your players match, and we need to have composure levels. We need to have squiggly lines and question marks over players. Like when you're playing in Seattle, this is the 12th man. Like the stadium needs to shake, and you need to see that stuff. Like the things that I question in that regard is like, is it a NFL stipulation that's keeping that from happening? Is that an NFL thing? Or is it just Madden isn't at a point where they can implement that into the game yet? So I don't know, but those are the kind of things that we need to see. And like we talked about it on shows past, my league is crazy in terms of the depth that they give you with the options that you can adjust and have that control over. You know what I'm saying? You can't do all that stuff in you can't do that stuff in Madden right now. Like, how you got, your player picks. You have your draft picks that you can trade for, but what I'm saying is there's no true depth and logic in terms of everything. Like there's still issues with trade logic and salaries matching up and things like that. There's still issues there. You know what I mean? So it's like there's a lot of underneath issues in CFM that need to be addressed first and foremost before we can truly talk about, what is it that I wanted to, what's the name of it? Before we can get to the more of, I should say, the icing on the cake kind of features. You know what I'm saying? Like they got to get that underneath logic right. So, but all in all, I mean, like you said, the whole XP thing with Madden. I mean, am I a huge fan of it? No, but I also understand why they have that. I'd rather like it would be nice if they had it more of a like how it was on PS2 days to an extent. Like if you're not utilizing that player, like have certain conditions and expectations on those players as they come in, whether they're rookie players or tenured players or whatever. You know, if you're going to sign a player, he better play. If he's not going to play, people are going to be up. You know, if you sign him and he doesn't play, he's going to be very unhappy, and then he's going to want out of that contract ASAP. You see what I'm saying? Or he's going to demand a trade or something like that. Or if he can hold out, he's going to hold out. You know what I mean? Because he's not getting that, like, you know what I mean? And this is stuff we had in Madden 04, Madden 05. You had the contractual holdouts and stuff. You don't have any immersion. Of that now. Yeah.
That's immersion right there. Restructuring deals and need all of that. Front load, back load. You need all that stuff.
Yeah.
Man.
Yep. So that's the stuff that we need in the game. And, you know, but I mean, like you said, it's something that we could definitely get more in depth with. Like, I'll just cap it for tonight because I know we're running a bit over here. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff that we need that adds more immersion and depth. And like my dude, like our brother AZ tweeted out a few days ago, College Hoops 2K8, most in-depth, most immersive sports title out there to date in terms of the feature set. And I firmly and fully agree with that. That game had everything in it in terms of giving you that collegiate immersion. And that's the stuff that we need to have in Madden. We need it in Madden. We need it in 2K, FIFA. All of them need it. I mean, I'm not a huge head on FIFA like that, or even NHL like that. But I'm saying though, it needs to be that in depth and that immersive. You can skid the surface if you want and play something simpler, but if you want that maximum challenge, you need to play it on that difficulty level, or not difficulty, but have that option to play it on that kind of setting that is going to give you that kind of overall experience at the end of the day. So, but that's pretty much all I got.
Yeah, man, it's so many things. All that contract stuff, it just needs a lot. It just needs a lot.
Yeah.
And time will tell. I mean, I know one thing I can always leave you guys with, and I'll leave you with this. These guys that we talk to are very passionate. The John Whites, you know, on CFM, those type of guys, they want all of this stuff, man, and we run into the same roadblock when we like, but when? And they just show us the massive workload and why this can't be done, and it will blow your mind. The things that they want are coming. They're coming. When they're gonna come, we all just have to wait and see. But I, you know, like we encourage you guys every show, keep sending the feedback, man, because when people ask, you know, how does feedback help? It's priority list. That's really how feedback helps. It's not like I'll throw y'all this nugget right here, because this kind of, I ain't gonna say it blew our mind, but when we was first told this, we was like, wow. There is no suggestion or feedback that we have ever given to them that they don't already have. I think A-Dub told Smitty and I that. He was like, man, we got a book and board full. He's like, y'all, every idea that we hear from any community member, we have already mulled it over. It just comes down to priority and time. And how our feedback helps. I've said this before, especially with them directly. There have been devs that pull us to the side and be like, yo, thank you for saying that. When we had this thing called like post-mortem, you know, when we come together after we've been there for the week and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yo, thanks for saying that, because I just finished talking to so-and-so upstairs about that. So it's like we help push their ideas when they have to get it, I don't want to say approved, but they have to make sure that whoever's over them feels as strongly about that feature to make it happen. You know what I'm saying? So that's how your feedback works. Your feedback is translated into priority. That's the truth. You hear more and more people say certain things, because Rex even says it every time they announce, like when they did that patch, that stream, and he was like, yeah, you guys wanted this, we're able to get that in. Formation subs is a perfect example of that. Remember how many people were clamoring for formation subs? Game, when it wasn't there at the second event that we attended, it wasn't there yet. And because we pushed for it, the community kept pushing. It was like, we got to find a way to get it in. So that's just a problem. So as y'all can hear, I'm being summoned, guys. I guess my son knows it's after 10 o'clock. Again, sorry for starting late tonight, guys, but you know, I had to travel to the office this week. For many of you guys that may or may not know, I live in Pennsylvania. I work from home. One day a week, I commute to Washington, D.C. This particular day was the day I had to go this week because we had a company outing. So I was just late getting back, and I kind of thought this might happen, but then I ran into crazy traffic on a little bit of drive that I have to do, you know, once I'm off the train and et cetera, et cetera. So sorry about that, guys. But that's all we got for you. We'll get together with each other and decide if there'll be a show next week. Y'all know we are approaching Christmas. I would say we probably will have it because it's not too close to Christmas Day. But if anything changes and we're not able to do the show, we'll definitely let you guys know well in advance on Twitter and things of that nature. And again, give us some topics. Let us know, what do y'all want us to talk about? I mean, you think about it. You guys are tuning in. You know, consider us a radio station. Request what you want to hear. So, you know, you may not always want to hear what we're talking about, but whatever y'all want to talk about, even if it's a regurgitated topic, whatever y'all want us to cover, let us know so we can make that happen each and every week. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it. We appreciate everyone who tuned in. We'll be back possibly, more than likely, next week. And everybody enjoy some football. Stay warm, because I know where I am right now, and I'm looking at it, it is actually 12 degrees. So y'all stay warm, and we see you guys next week. Peace.